What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for episode 1 of building a UCS Acclamator in Lego, my new mock building series. I'm really excited to get this series started. I've actually been planning this since before UTPA was finished. And in today's episode, I'm going to kind of lay the groundwork as to why this series came about and why a UCS Acclamator. I'm also going to be showing you guys kind of my vision and what the dimensions for this whole mock is going to be. Basically, you're going to get to know the story of like what's going on here and then what's going to be happening moving forward. So to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, the reason I picked a UCS Acclamator is because, as a lot of you know, I'm a huge fan of the prequels, love the Clone Wars era. And I feel like my collection is really lacking in the prequel sets area, and I wanted to beef it up, especially with like some high-end collector's pieces. So I was looking into buying and building a UCS scaled Venator. There's some instructions out there and stuff. They were a little bit expensive, kind of big, and so I wanted something a little bit smaller, something more manageable. And I'm actually a fan of the Acclamator. I feel like it doesn't get as much love as the Venator. It is a little bit smaller, maybe doesn't look as cool, but I still think it's an awesome ship. And I'm trying to help, show it some love, make it more popular. So I decided to go with an Acclamator build. I was like, surely someone out there has built one before. And I looked out there, and there honestly aren't that many custom Acclamators, maybe 2, and only one good one, you know what I mean? So I looked up this one, and it was built by a guy on Instagram. Looked into it a little bit. I thought it was pretty cool, and I was like, you know what? I want to build a UCS scaled Acclamator. That would look so cool. I would love to have something like that in my collection. So that's kind of how this series came about. And I also knew I would want something in between UTPA and my next big mock, because I don't like to do large scale mocks back to back. I like to have something small and a little bit easier in between. Like, take for example, between Umbara and UTPA, I did my Ryloth mock. It's just a nice change of pace. It allows me to keep building while not having to go right into another large, long, drawn-out project. So this series is not going to be very long. I only anticipate 4 to 6 episodes. Just because, the Acclamator isn't huge. It's not a crazy detailed set. That being said, it is still going to be pretty tough. That being said, this is the first time I've ever really designed like a large ship. So it's going to be pretty challenging. I don't really consider myself a vehicle builder. I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out. It may not even look that good, but I figured I might as well try. I think it's going to be a really cool opportunity to improve that. And I just think it's going to be really fun. And of course, the end result could be a really awesome Acclamator. I will be taking this mock to conventions. So if you want to see this in person, you may very well get the chance. Sorry for the long drawn out intro. I kind of wanted to give you guys the vision behind all this and why it came to be. All that being said, I think it's time to start building. So this week is going to contain a lot of planning, a lot of explaining. You guys are all familiar with the beginning of a mock building series. I got to lay the foundation for what's going to be moving forward. And you can see I've already started to do that with parts. The nice thing about the Acclamator is it's pretty similar to a lot of large Lego Star Wars warships. You've got a lot of light bluish gray wedge plates and a lot of light bluish gray plate, dark bluish gray, light bluish gray, Technic pins, rods, bricks, all that kind of stuff. So pretty generic, pretty easy to find stuff. So I actually made a bunch of purchases already of those kinds of pieces, which should allow me to get a good start. And then as I get deeper into the build and start to come across more technical areas, I'll be able to order those pieces as I come. But it's good to have a nice solid base to start. This is a pretty good look at the Acclamator that I'm going to be building. Pretty simple design. Honestly, I think right now what's going to be the biggest challenge for me is you can see that this entire front part slopes down slightly as well as sloping to the side. So I've got to achieve 2 slopes in different directions at the same time. This is a similar feature to what's on the UCS Star Destroyer. You can see you've got this angle down to the side, but if you come down here, you can see it's also angling down to the front. So I haven't 100% figured out how I'm going to do that. I may be taking some of these panels off to expose the structure or skeleton of the UCS Star Destroyer. I may be doing something similar for my Acclamator build. Luckily, I won't be starting from complete scratch with this build. I came across this build while I was looking for a Lego Acclamator mock. This is done by the Lego builder by this name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because I don't want to butcher it. But he's on Instagram. I would highly recommend checking him out. He's got a beautiful, beautiful Acclamator, as you can see. And initially, I was actually going to just build his version. I was like, you know what? I don't even have to build my own custom one. I'll just do his. But the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I don't know how I can't really see a lot of what he did. And I messaged him about it, getting some more pictures, but he's actually currently remodeling his apartment and moving. So it's packed away, so he wasn't able to give me any new images. So I decided to just take a shot at doing a custom version. I will be taking inspiration from his. However, you'll see once the finished product comes that they will be different because, I don't want to just copy his and then take credit that I built a custom one. I'm going to be taking a lot of the same design from these front panels. I feel like if I can get these two areas built, that'll help me gauge how big the rest of the mock will be. Because once you have one piece of the build scaled, you can build everything to scale with that piece. So I think what I'm going to do next is actually build this section right here. I should have all the pieces for it, and it looks fairly simple. You can see I've also got some other images and other angles to look at. I've been doing some building, and I came up with a pretty satisfactory model for a large scale logo. You can see it matches it pretty nicely. It is a little bit more square and a little bit more blocky, but I think this large scale kind of takes away from that, and it still looks pretty good. So I'm going to have one of these on each side. It's also really nice to have some of the build completed already. So I think that's all I wanted to update you on. I feel like I caught you guys up to speed on what's going to be going on here, what I'm going to be using for inspiration, and what I'm going to be starting with. So what I'm going to be doing now is a time lapse of me putting together one of those large front panels. First front panel is done. You can see I tiled off the entire top of it. I did have to rotate this off of camera. When I originally put it on, it was like this vertical, and then I was looking at pictures, and the logo of the Republic Navy was kind of more horizontal like this, and I wanted to be as accurate as I could. It was kind of, a big pain to switch it because I had to pull everything up, and my dark red tiles break sometimes. I had a casualty right there, but I decided to do it in the name of accuracy, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm very happy with that smooth look. What I'm trying to figure out now is what I'm going to be putting right here along the top of this ridge, because you can see right here where this red strip goes down the middle, you can see it's angled on the sides. Whoops, this is a touchscreen laptop, so if I touch it, it goes crazy. You can see the sides right here are angled upwards, and then there's a flat top. So that's what I'm trying to decide what I should do right here. If I should create that angled look right here with these cheese slopes, or if I should just go with the flat tile. The thing I like about the flat tile is it's not very tall. I'm worried with these cheese slopes, they're gonna jut out too much, because I obviously won't be able to make this a seamless gap. This will look more like this. So I may have to wait and decide what I'm gonna do for that one until I can see like what this middle part's going to look like. So I may leave this part alone for now, but what I'm going to do next is replicate this for the left hand side, and then I'll check back in when I've got more to update you with. Okay, I got the left side built. It's right over here, and what I'm doing right now is kind of simulating the angles and shape I want for this front section. So I built this strip of dark red that's going to go down the middle like that, and you can see I want it to angle down that way, but I want these side planks to also angle down that direction at the same time. So everything is lining up pretty nicely. I know earlier I was debating on whether or not to use cheese slopes or just plate, and I'm honestly surprised with how much better the cheese slopes were. I thought they were going to create a bigger gap up here, but I think if I make this middle part tall enough, it won't look bad at all. In fact, it'll look better and it'll look more accurate than if I just ran tile. So I'm going to need to make an order for a bunch of these because this is all I have right here. And then in the front right here, you can see I've got some cheese slopes on there. I'm going to create just a little bit of an angle. You can see on the front of the Acclamator, it's pretty blunt and there's not a lot of slope going down that direction. It's pretty flat, so I think I'm going to leave my ship how it is. Now there are a couple things I want to discuss before I get back into building. And I know I said I was going to use that custom Acclamator I showed you guys as inspiration for a lot of this. But the more I'm starting to build, the more I'm realizing I kind of want to go in a different direction than he went. So you can see right here, his Acclamator is pretty blunt right there in the front. It's pretty wide. But I was looking at the picture of the actual Acclamator, and it's pretty narrow. Like, it comes to a pretty tight point. So I think I'm actually going to keep building this direction and keep building that direction. So I'm actually going to make my plate bigger and just kind of change it up. I do kind of have like the same angle on the side here as he does, but as far as these plates go, I think I'm going to go in a different direction. You can see mine's a little bit narrow right here, and I do like that for a couple of reasons. First, you get that narrow front, and second, it'll make the whole ship bigger. His ship is probably, it only goes to about right there and then ends at about right there, I believe. So mine's going to be probably an extra, 8 to 10 studs longer, which means this whole ship, I'm going to have to keep that scale going. So my ship's going to be much longer and much bigger, which I'm happy because, I'm trying to build a UCS scaled Acclamator. So I think I'm probably going to go that direction. One roadblock I'm trying to figure out right now is I feel like one of the very unique characteristics of the Acclamator is how wide it is. The Venator is pretty narrow, pretty wedge-like, but if you look at this Acclamator, it's pretty narrow right here, and then right here it just fans out and is extremely wide, especially on these side wings right here. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that because this right here just looks a little bit too narrow to me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this back part right here with one of these because this is a wider angle than these two smaller 3x6 wedge plates. So that means this will begin to fan out a little bit more. So by the time, we get to back here, it should be a much more acceptable width. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do right now. And then once I have these installed and I have them where I like them, I'll check back in for one more update. Last update for the week, guys. And as you guys can see, I have been extremely busy. So I got both front pieces done. I got these back pieces kind of done as well. I'm starting to design those. A couple of things to note. First off, I decided to make these even wider. I added another one of these large tiles here on the back. So I added 2 of these to the back of each side, and you guys can see before I added those wedge plates, it was pretty narrow. It was still fairly long, but I didn't like how narrow it was. It felt more reminiscent of a Venator than an Acclamator. So I just threw 2 of these down, and it is much wider now. Like you can see, I think they start right around here somewhere. It just all of a sudden jumps out to a much wider angle. Much happier with that. I feel like this is going to look a lot better once it's finished. Another plus about adding those wedge plates on either side is now the Acclamator is going to be even bigger. So this is probably going to be almost twice the size I originally planned it being. And I'm honestly just having the time of my life putting this together. It's been so fun to get back into mock building. And this is the first time I've ever designed and built a custom ship before. So I feel like it's turning out pretty well so far. I'm sure the frame is going to kick me in the teeth, but we'll be starting that next week. The last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about with this week was where these stripes are going. So you can see over here on this design of the Acclamator, you've got 5 large dark red stripes kind of towards the back of the ship, kind of where it meets that flat part is where they start and come forward. So I'm trying to figure out where the best placement of these is going to be so that they don't get too close to this Republic Navy insignia. Originally I had them all the way back here, but then I added those wedge plates on, and I feel like that created a much larger gap, and I feel like these dark red lines aren't this far back to the end of the Acclamator in the photo. So what I did was scooted them forward 4 studs, and I feel like this looks better. You can see they're starting to edge closer to here and get closer to kind of where this angled part meets the straight part of the ship. But let me know what you guys think, which design you prefer. I hope you guys enjoyed this first week of building a UCS Acclamator. Very happy with the progress. I'm very happy for I'm very happy to finally be able to put brick down on plate and see it come together. I honestly didn't have too much of a vision for what this was going to look like, so very happy with the progress so far. All that being said, time to hit the outro. I hope you guys enjoyed week 1 of building a UCS Acclamator. I'm having a lot of fun with this project. It's turning out really good, and I'm honestly moving along pretty quickly, which is really nice. I'm hoping to, wrap it up fairly quickly. There honestly haven't been too many challenges so far. That being said, I'm working on some pretty simple things. I already had kind of a base to go off of with that other Acclamator mock that I was showing you guys. So I had a little bit to go off of there, whereas as we move forward into coming weeks, I'm going to move into territory that I really don't have any reference material for in Lego. I only have official images. So I anticipate things heating up pretty quickly. All that being said, if you like this video, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, feel free to let me know down below in the comments section. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. But until next time, happy building.